Hello, this is Sarah Bastian. I am the children's pastor's wife here at Highpoint. Today, December 19, our scripture reading is found in Luke chapter 2, verses 16 to 18. And they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the baby lying in a manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying that had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. Joseph welcomes the shepherds. As Jesus laid in the manger and Mary rested on the hay, Joseph took a second to allow himself to take a deep breath. The last few days had been a whirlwind, but nothing prepared him for what he had just gone through. Looking at his resting wife, he knew what he went through was nothing like what she had gone through. Despite the cries and the screaming and the pain, when Jesus was born and his little cries filled the walls of that small stable, Mary's demeanor shifted immediately to one of joy and excitement. It was the most remarkable thing Joseph had ever witnessed. It was also the most difficult thing he had ever been through. Watching his wife in pain and knowing it was all necessary and that he couldn't do anything to help her out. It was not a position he liked being in. He wanted to protect his young family. Still, as mother and baby rested, Joseph allowed himself to rest his weary body against a stable post. While he sat on the stable floor, he marveled at how amazing Yahweh was and what a gift Jesus was to them. They had a son. Joseph was a father. Though it didn't seem to come the way he had expected, he was grateful. This whole experience he and Mary had been on over the last several months was strange, surreal, and mysterious. But now he had a son, Jesus. As Joseph allowed his eyes to slowly close, he started to think about what was next. They would finish their business with the registration in Bethlehem and have to find other accommodations. Since Jesus had arrived, they would be staying for a while until it was safe for him to travel. Then they would travel back to Nazareth, where he would resume work in the carpentry shop, and Mary would make their home ready for a baby. With his eyes still closed, Joseph smiled slightly as he thought back to the carpentry shop. He thought of Lemuel, the only one that stayed behind. He had never been more disappointed to be from Nazareth because he didn't get to travel away like all the rest of them. Instead, he had to keep the shop running by himself. He would be happy to see Joseph back from their trip, so he would have some help. Joseph looked forward to getting things back to normal, at least as normal as they could be with a newborn baby. Suddenly, he was jolted to consciousness as a sound reached his ears. He looked at Mary and Jesus, and they were both peacefully quiet. His eyes darted back and forth, checking for movement in the small stable, and saw nothing. Then he heard it again, from outside. Right then, a shepherd appeared in the stable doorway. His presence startled Mary, who looked toward the doorway as well. Joseph saw the shepherd wasn't alone, but two others appeared at the doorway with him. What could they want here at this hour of the night, thought Joseph. His look must have startled the shepherds because they suddenly paused their advance through the doorway and with bowed heads nodded toward Jesus. Recognizing they had come to see the baby, their king, Joseph and Mary both smiled and ushered them in. As they reverently approached the manger and then bowed next to Jesus, Joseph felt his eyes fill with tears. Joseph wasn't a crying man, but as the three shepherds kneeled beside his baby's bed, Joseph was hit by the reality that he had a king for a son who would touch the lives of his people and bring them salvation. With tears streaming down his face, Joseph worshiped Yahweh for his provision, direction, and peace. Jesus was here, safe and healthy. What more could a father hope for? What this means for me. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt helpless? Something was going on and you couldn't help someone out? You longed to fix the problem, but no matter what you did, you ended up not being helpful or you made the situation worse? I just described the reality of every married man. Joseph's role in this whole story is one of protecting, providing, and listening to the voice of the Lord. Sometimes when we read through the Christmas story, Joseph quietly slips behind the lines of Scripture in our Bibles. We know he is important, but his role seems to shadow in comparison with Mary, Jesus, and the other characters in the story. What we often forget is that it was up to Joseph to keep Mary and Jesus safe and cared for. God had chosen him to be more than a dad to Jesus, but he was chosen to represent the Lord in Jesus' life. For baby Jesus, Joseph was God in the flesh. Often, though, I imagine that Joseph was conflicted with his role. As a father, your natural instinct is to protect, care for, to act. For Joseph, though, God was giving direction, and not always the best direction from a human standpoint. Joseph probably felt helpless, knowing God's will is the best and right way to go, but also wishing he could jump in and keep his wife free from pain, keep Jesus away from danger, and live a life that was uneventful and free from risk. Even in this moment, Joseph had no idea their lives were about to turn upside down again, and they would soon be on another journey as a family of 3. Do you feel like things are out of control and you just want to take the reins? Do you ever feel like you want to tell God, "You know what, big guy, why don't you take a break and let me drive for a while?" But we all know that when God drives, he gets us where we need to be, right when we need to be there, and as safe as he intends for us to be. This Christmas, as you consider Jesus lying in a manger as a helpless baby, consider Joseph's role of being a protector while also being obedient to the will of the Lord. He found the balance, and so can you. What is the Lord calling you to do during this Christmas season, and what is he asking for you to let go of and trust him with? I'm going to reread that last paragraph. What is the Lord calling you to do during this Christmas season, and what is he asking for you to let go of and trust him with? What situations do you need to leave in the Lord's hands, and which ones is he leaving in yours? When we find that balance and seek to be obedient rather than to always be doing, then we find ourselves less stressed and exactly where the Lord wants us, despite the storms that may rage all around.